Hey, hi, how's it going? This is probably going to be a fairly long video. That's why I've got like, I think an hour and a half of B-roll from 3 of the 7-ish games on this list. Hey, hi, how's it going? It's your boy, MMO Junkie here. Now that I've got that out of the way, this is probably going to be a fairly long video. Like, very much so. Just because I have about an hour and a half of B-roll from the like 7 or 8 games. And out of those 7 or 8 games on this list that I'm going to be talking about, and my experiences with over the years that I played them, some of them for a very short period of time, I think I only got stuff from I got footage from 4 games because one of the games doesn't exist anymore. We have an ex-WoW dev to blame for that. More on that later. Feel free to either not watch this or watch this. I guess it depends on how much time you have to kill. You don't even have to see the footage. You can just put this up in the background and listen to me talk. The video. All right. How's it going, everybody? Feel free to just toss this up in the background of whatever you're doing. Like I said in the intro, it's probably going to be a long one. Anything you're seeing on screen isn't really important. It's just going to be B-roll, basically. I'm not super fancy. I don't have the, top tier, like, god level production value or anything. I don't really care. Just, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for months now. Just, never really knew how to get around to it. So, yeah. Just get into it. This is... I don't know what the title of the video is going to be, but it will probably end up being what I say. We'll see. I also don't know how I'm going to make the thumbnail. That's for later me to worry about. Welcome to my, I guess, 14-ish years of playing various MMOs and the rabbit hole that MMOs entail. This, I guess we start with the one that I have put the most time into, which would be Lord of the Rings Online. Played the game for like, see what the game was like 14 or 15 years old now. In total, if I take away all the breaks that I took, and I think I took about 3 or 4 years of breaks, so probably really only 10 years of actually playing the game. Give or take 10 or 11 years. I have a lot of fond memories of the game. I spent so much of my life in Middle-earth. All right, let's just be real. I spent so much of my time in that game. From high-end raids to PvP, roleplay. Just sometimes getting bored and logging on and getting on a horse and just riding across the entirety of the game map. I spent a lot of time in the game. Steam alone, my hours played on Steam alone is like, I think, over 5,000 hours. I can actually check that right now. No, it's only okay. It's only over 4,000. 4,358.1 hours, and that's just on the. That's just from playing it on Steam. I would probably add another 12, 13. No, I would say around another 1,500 on from just launching the game from the client. So roughly closer. So probably closer to 6,000 hours. I've played the game too much. I spent more money on that game than it deserved to have gotten out of me. I'm gonna be real. I know that sounds harsh to people that like the game, but it did not have... I had no business spending the money that I spent on that game, and at almost any point. Well, the amount of money, at any rate. A little bit of it was understandable, but some of it was just stupid. Which is part of the rabbit hole of MMOs. Finding out that, yeah, my free-to-play game is cool until you hit the free-to-play limit, and then it's not really a free-to-play game. That's the same thing for pretty much any free-to-play game. Except for one of the games on this list. Turn my AC back on. I am hot in my room as I record this because my computer is under my desk. So all the heat just gets trapped under there and turns the bottom half of my body into a sauna. And then, ugh. It's not fun. Continuing to talk about, or I should say, I guess continuing the list for the next game in a little brief, well, however I just described Lord of the Rings, is going to be STO, or Star Trek Online. I played that game, or still play. Been playing it for about 7 or 8 years on and off. That game, I also probably shouldn't have spent near the amount of money that I've spent in it, or on it, for that matter. But because it's not needed. It's not needed. It's like Star Trek is truly a actual free-to-play game. Like, you don't, the story isn't locked behind a paywall. The only thing being subscribed gives you, as far as I know, is just store points. I don't know what else it gives you because I never looked at what a lifetime account offers. Slash just being subscribed to the game. I literally think it's just store points. Again, I could be wrong. I'll have a pop-up on screen to show that later. It's fun. It's really fun. It's gone through a lot of changes since I first started playing it. It looks a lot better. It runs better for the most part. I still think the post-processing stuff hits PC hardware a little too hard. Because I've got a pretty good system. With a current generation 30 series graphics card, and that game will still just disintegrate frame rate. Which is another thing that happens in Lotro for me as well. It's like the better my PC got, the worse Lotro ran. And I couldn't figure it out. The game crashes more than it should as well, which is another reason I don't play it anymore. Got tired of crashing like 16 times a day. That's, again, something I'll get into later. Star Trek's fun, and actually the story, they've streamlined it and shaved and moved things to where, yes, it's the same story every time you play. Holy crap. My AC is still not doing its job. I turned it off by turning it back on by accident. Anyway, the story has been gotten more and more streamlined over the years, so you can get, in a sense, if you had a whole day to set aside, you could damn near get from level 1 to level 65 in one sitting. Just playing the story. But then that's before you even start doing the multiplayer, like TFOs and stuff. It's just a fun game to lose, you know, just drop some hours into. Like, hey, I got a few hours. I want to fly around in my spaceship and blow stuff up. It's fun. Next game would be, or next game on the list, is Elder Scrolls Online, which I still sometimes play. I reinstalled it recently because I needed to get some video footage from it for the B-roll. You'll see it, it's somewhere in here. Shoot. A friend of mine got it for me. I don't quite remember when. It's been a few years? Give or take, and I play it on and off. I still haven't actually managed to get a character to max level, because much like playing Skyrim or any other Elder Scrolls game, I end up wanting to restart the game for no apparent reason. I don't know why. It's just playing Bethesda games in general. You want to restart the game, and I don't know why. I've finished one. No. I've beaten Skyrim once. I have beaten Fallout 4 once. And I will have beaten New Vegas once. That's about it. Yeah. Next on the list. Oh, wait, no. Staying on ESO. It's a very pretty game. It is very well optimized, too. Like, that game is gorgeous. I don't know what ZeniMax uses to make the game run so well, but it runs incredible. It is beautiful. My 3060 handles the game like it's nothing at 4K, and it's so fun to just get lost in that game too. I've actually really been enjoying. Haven't finished the Cold Harbor storyline yet. I am pretty close to the end, I think. I need to get around to finishing that because it's really fun, and my goal is to at least get a character to end game level and start working on a good build for it. I think that is what I will work on doing. Not in the in the nearish future. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on and a lot of videos that I need to record at some point. Next game on the list is the one that I am still currently playing the most of, and I'm currently paying my sub for. And that is Final Fantasy XIV. I started playing it towards the end of 2019 before Shadowbringers came out, which is the current expansion that is out now. And oh my lord, when I tell you this game has saved my life more than anyone can understand, it has. From the stunning visuals to the amazing story, the gameplay is fun. The maps are incredible to just fly around. Once you unlock flying around is really fun. Just looking at all the places you can get to, seeing what has collision where you can stand on it. Raids and everything. It's just a gorgeous game, and I am chomping at the bit for Endwalker. It needs to hurry. It got delayed for 2 weeks, and I'm sad. I'm big sad. Oh man. Next on the list, next on the list is Rift. Let me tell you when I say it was the most forgettable MMO that I think I've ever played. I don't remember hardly anything about the game. I don't remember it looking too spectacular. I think it looked like the average MMO at the time that I played it. I don't remember anything about the story. I think I played the game for a couple of months and was like, yeah, this is bad. I don't know. I don't know, man. The game it was such a quick flatline for me. I don't, oof, just oof. Next on the list is also mentioned in the intro of the video, a dead game that I thoroughly enjoyed and wished that Red 5 Studios had butchered. And if the name of the studio didn't give it away, that is Firefall. That was by far the most fun I've ever had in an MMO. Well, until the Final Fantasy XIV. But it was so good. Firefall was this crazy, like, cyberpunk style. Was it cyberpunk? Was it considered sci-fi? Sci-fi. It's a sci-fi shooter MMO. Like Defiance, but better. I've played a little bit of Defiance, too. I have a couple of fond memories of Defiance. Never really got very far in it, and I don't think the game's alive anymore either. But Firefall was great. It had a decent enough art style that was lightweight for gaming, that even my terrible computer I had at the time could play the game really well, which was surprising, because that PC hated everything I played, including Lotro. I was lucky to have over 30 or around 60 playing Lotro. That's nuts. Like, that computer couldn't play Left 4 Dead 2 past like the low settings and keep a good frame rate. It was but Firefall ran so good. That game, oh my gosh. It had beautiful maps. I loved running around in it, shooting stuff, just doing like the little like pop-up public events. Kind of like how Final Fantasy XIV, and I think WoW has some of those too, where you're just like, you know, little map bosses and stuff show up. You gotta run around and do that. The rating I don't remember much of, because like I'd only just started getting into the high-end rating before I had to quit playing all my games because my PC died. And it was a good solid 3 or 4 months before I got another working PC. And by the time that happened, I came back and Firefall servers were shut down because Red 5 killed the game. Because their CEO, before he retired, basically crippled the game, and the devs just couldn't make the game work at that point. There's a much better story that can be told about that, because I watched it the other day. For all that game's faults, I enjoyed it so much. I miss it and wish, I just wish and keep praying that any studio could pick the game up. It would be a dream come true for me. I miss Firefall so much. That game was just, oh my god, I miss it. Next, which is actually the final one I have written down, is Guild Wars 2. I haven't played that game in so long, and I hope to God I still have my emails from the game so I can at least make sure that I can log into it, because a friend of mine bought that one for me a while back, and the PC I had could barely play it, so I wasn't able to play it with her. And that sucks. I hate when that happens. I felt so bad when people would buy me games only to discover that the PC I had, it couldn't play them. It happened so much, dude. Like my PC couldn't even play Rust back in the day. Of course, not many PCs could. Ugh. Ugh. What little I played of Guild Wars I remember being pretty cool. So that's phase 1 of the video, was just the MMOs that I played. Oh, there was also this weird derpy anime one called Critica. I think I've actually got a video on it on this channel, and I think that game is also dead. I don't know. I also really don't care. I mean, it was fun, but I think I was just living off the hype of what the game was when I did that review. Wasn't really exceptional. Wasn't the worst I've ever played. It was still, had more fun playing that than I did Rift. Oof. Rest in peace. And now that concludes the list of the MMOs that I played and the time that I spent in them. Next will be, I guess, the communities for each game. Lotro's fine if you just don't read chat. Ever. Only ask for help when you run across something you can't do. Because it's bad. I see more bad in chat, like more non-savory people in chat when I log in than I do the people that are legitimately trying to help. And like, if you even make a joke about the game running bad, people get pissed. Like, it's scary. There's still a good amount of people in the game that are decent people that don't hate everybody, but the game's community is going the way of WoW, where everybody hates each other in it. That's my opinion. That's what I see, and I'm not the only one with that opinion. But feel free to stay mad at me about it anyway. I really don't care. It's mostly bad. It's the opposite of what usually happens in a game with their community. It's usually, you know, it's mostly good with the odd bad apple. And for all I know, it could still be that. It's just all you see are the really douchey people. Like the super ultra mega high-end raiders, and I'll get to that when I get to other games. Most of the time, the ultra high-end raiders are super pretentious, and I do not jive with pretentious stuck-up dickwads. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way as a blanket term for anyone that can fit that category. I know, and I personally know, some really chill, super cool, and super helpful high-end raiders. But by and large, high-end raiders are not friendly people. At least not the ones that I've ran into across all the games that I've played that I've actually gotten to high-end raiding in. Next, ESO. Pretty sure everyone in the just about everyone in ESO is a high-end raider, I guess, because that's really all that's entertaining to do. And I wouldn't know because I still haven't got to that yet. I don't have a character at max level, but the community overall in that game is pretty cool. I don't recall ever running into anybody that made me angry, or that I've seen anyone else attack somebody. Everybody in the game seemed to just be chill, just vibing, playing some Elder Scrolls, my dudes. I'm sure there's bad apples somewhere. I haven't played the game enough to find them, I guess. Not that I want to. It's like trouble finds me, and I don't like that. Ugh. I just want to chill and play a game, man. You know what I mean? Final Fantasy XIV. Overall, really, really, really just outstanding community. But dang, it's pretty bad once you get into the people that are like, especially if you have a mentor crown. I have met maybe 3 people who are mentors that aren't colossal douche canoes. Like, there's a difference between helping and guiding a group versus barking orders like a bloody drill sergeant. It turns people off, man. It turns people away from what you're trying to teach them, and it makes them want to not play the game anymore. Like, I'm fully about people helping other people learn the game, or be like, hey, try doing this instead of this, versus, hey man, you're just wasting our time doing this, go do this instead of being a waste of space. Which is paraphrasing, but I ran into that the other day on one of the data centers that I'm playing on with some friends, with some of my overseas people. It's rough. Like, if you're gonna be if you want to help people and help them learn, do it in a way that doesn't involve like shitting on people. Be cool about it, or just recommend very nicely, hey, if you don't understand the mechanics, you can either ask us to help or watch a video before you go in, but also still ask questions if you don't get it, because trying to watch the guide while you're doing it doesn't work. But it's almost never like that when it comes to anyone with a mentor crown, other than the 3 or 4 that I've met that aren't colossal douche canoes. I think I skipped Star Trek. There's a few people in that game that I've got a decent block list on that game, and most of them I never even interacted with. It's like any game, if it's an MMO, you're gonna be plagued with gold spammers / in-game currency spammers. You block those on site and report them. Ugh, that was a hiccup in the middle of that word. But anytime I see like political arguments and stuff in chat, if I don't have it minimized, I just block anyone having those discussions, because no, don't leave politics out of my MMO, please. I am playing a game to not talk about reality. But that's the super cool thing about Star Trek. You can just minimize the chat window, and then you forget you're playing an MMO. Because the chat window's there. It's out of sight, out of mind. Every MMO needs to incorporate that. The ability to just hide / minimize chat, and then you're good. Only look at it when you absolutely need it. And that would make all MMOs 1000% more fun. End of discussion on that. Firefall. I mean, it had its trolls, and it had its douche canoes. But it was fun. If I couldn't figure something out, rather than look it up, because I didn't have 2 monitors at the time and my internet was terrible, so opening up Chrome while I have an internet-based game running was a bad idea. So I would just type in the big, like, global chat, be like, hey, I'm having trouble with this, I'm this class, and these are my weapons, and this is my gear. What should I do to be able to do what I'm trying to do? And if I can't do it solo, is there anyone available that could help me do it? And 9 times out of 10, I would get answers. People would be like, hey, just, you know, do this, try using these skills in conjunction with this weapon. And then, or people would just, someone would just invite me to a group and be like, all right, we about to murder this content on the highest level, and you're about to get some insane loot. And I'm sitting there going, oh, buddy, let's go. Yeah, I miss Firefall. My God, I miss that game. Please, somebody resurrect it. For the love of God. Guild Wars. Don't really have anything to say because I don't remember. I didn't play the game enough to get a feel for the community. Next is playstyles of the game. I'm gonna go ahead and preface this by, they're all MMOs, so at their core, they all accomplish the same thing. They just do it differently. Lord of the Rings, and this is where I'm also gonna get some hate from veterans of that game. In my opinion, it is not a skill-based game. You just mash buttons and watch your giant numbers happen. Same thing with Star Trek. You just mash your you mash all your buttons and everything on screen dies. It's not really... It is what it is. Just some games don't lag out and crash when I start hitting my skills. Cough, Lotro, cough. Again, loved the game. It still holds a fond place in my heart. But man, it crashes just as much as it did when I was when my dad was a beta tester and I played a little bit on his account during beta, and then played on his account when the game launched. There are still chunks of that game where you can just walk, you'll just be out in the wild and just fall through the map. And there you go. You have to do the whole /stuck to get unstuck, or log out and log back in, and it puts you whatever the closest save zone / revive zone is. Cool. ESO, also just mash buttons in whatever order you want and watch things in front of you die. But also, I can't really say that that's exactly how it is, because that's just how it feels to me now. Because again, with that game, I would like to preface, I even put it in my notes, that I'm still not at end game at max level yet. I don't have all the crazy traits for like uber crit damage mages, for example. My current character that I'm playing through again is a mage, destruction mage, and boy, do I want to get to where I can just crit everything to death. I've seen videos of it, and it makes me moist. Very, very moist. Final Fantasy XIV is a mix of GCD and OGCD skills, which is global cooldown and off global cooldowns. You kind of weave some of that stuff together. You have to do your GCD stuff. For most classes, you have core combos, and you have to do them in order, otherwise you're not doing damage. They do that to make the game streamlined. And a lot of people don't like that because they just like to unga bunga slap their keyboard and do damage, which is a problem. But if every MMO did everything the exact same way, it wouldn't really be too much differing factors. It's just, hey, this is an MMO but with a Final Fantasy skin, or this is an MMO with insert generic high fantasy skin here. I happen to like the GCD stuff so much more, especially since I hardly ever play DPS in the game. My starting class was DPS, and as soon as I got to 60, I grabbed Gunbreaker because I'm a Final Fantasy VIII nerd, and have basically been a tank main since then. But I also split main healer, and I've got 2 max level tanks and 2 max level healers. So yeah, I do the tank rotations, plus weaving in defensives and group wide mitigation, plus single target mitigation for myself as tanks. And as healers, you basically just mash one attack button until people lose health, and then you hit a couple of heals, and then you go back to mashing your one attack button. With whatever else mechanics that the healer you're on has. Like, Astrologian, which was my main healer for a while, uses space magic and tarot cards. Cool. The cards give buffs, and you stack them to get a group-wide buff called Divination, which is a group-wide damage buff. Sick. Scholar. Scholar's a lot. You have way too many buttons, and I'm just now learning how to actually play it more efficiently. It's a lot harder to play, but you still primarily spam your one attack skill. Anyways, Scholar, I mean, healers in general all play the same. You got your one damage skill, you got your group-wide thing that you can do, and then you should, if ideally, only heal when needed. And that goes for any level of play. I like to overcompensate because I don't like seeing people's health go under half, which is another reason I would not be able to survive high-end raiding, because I would lose so much DPS, because I don't like seeing missing health after a certain amount of HP is gone. We'll just leave it at that. Rift, I don't really remember, but I think it was similar to Lotro, but I don't remember. Firefall was an FPS game, so, you know, it was Destiny before Destiny was Destiny, basically. To some form of an extent. It was fun. Guild Wars, I think, was GCD based, but I also don't remember because I barely got to play any of it. So there's that. Yeah. So that's the thing. Next on the list, there's only 2 more sections left to go, is what I have labeled classes, roles, characters. So the default format for, you know, any MMO is you got your tank, you got your healer, and you got your deeps. You have some form of that in every game. I had my brain, like, flatlined for a second. It was just like, anyway, yeah. So, like, Lotro's classes, you know, like I said, you got your tanks, you got your healers, you got your DPS. Technically, Captain is a support role, but everything can now basically be a DPS, and some things can be both a DPS and a healer. I don't know what the hell's going on in Lotro anymore, man. Just about everything can tank at some point. Like, it's slowly, they've turned it almost into a watered down ESO. I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. But for example, I mostly played champion, and for a brief stint, I also had a captain. I ended up liking captain more than champion, just because I had a simpler, quote, rotation on captain. And actually, the rotation for captain is actually a rotation. I liked... That was, I think playing captain is what started me wanting to play a dedicated healer. Just not in Lotro. At all. I liked being able to res, I liked being able to give out support healing, I liked being able to buff. That was honestly really fun, and I kind of wish that I had taken that character to whatever the current level cap. Well, it's not even current anymore, it's updated now because of Gundabald or Gundabald? Gundabad. Whatever, you got the tanks, you got Guardian, and that's like the only tank in the game now that people give a crap about, I think. Because last time I remember playing, people weren't really using Wardens as tanks anymore. They would just have them go full yellow, shard on everything, which is cool, because the yellow line bleeds are, oh god, they're scary. Ooh, Wardens are spooky. I think for main tanking it's still Guardian, but I've seen people still preferring to have a captain in yellow as the off tank, which again is fine because yellow line captains are pretty stout. DPS classes all play somewhat similarly. You got your they all have some kind of build up, like hunters need focus, champions need, oh god, what was it actually called? Fervor? No, fervor was the stance. Damn, it's been so long now I don't remember what the build up skill for champions was. You use your higher tier skills. But also, no, focus is definitely hunter. Man, this doesn't look good on me. Played the game for 10 plus years and don't remember. I think it's Fervor. Fervor or Rage or something. Ugh. Rune stuff for rune keepers. I don't know, man. Most classes in the game have some kind of like skill gauge that that needs to be at a certain level before they can use other skills. Sort of similar to 14. Just 14 does it better. I'm mad at myself for not remembering what holy crap. What champions build up thing is. I'm mad at myself for that. That makes me upset. Moving on to Star Trek then. And I'm still not actually sure how these work because I basically play all 3 classes as DPS. I don't know how to make anything else in the game. My current character that is my main is a Vulcan science officer, primarily spec'd into damage. She can heal very well though. I've healed some high-end content on her. She's got a lot of healing. So that's something. She's got the group-wide revives and everything. This engineer is supposed to be the tank. And primarily you would use a cruiser for that, because they're the stouter, like, beefy ships. I'm using a cruiser as a DPS ship on a science officer. Yep. Moving on. ESO is confusing because everything can be everything in that game. You can make a mage that is also a tank, but that is also at the same time a healer while also doing DPS. Cool. I kind of have something cheesy like that going. My got a big Nord two-handed sword guy who can somewhat tank, does good AoE damage, also heals. Sure, sick. Rift, I don't remember at all. I think that game was just the bog standard tank healer DPS stuff, and I'll probably and as well we'll support as well. Pretty sure Guild Wars is the same. Again, didn't play enough of Guild Wars to know either. Firefall is very similar to Final Fantasy XIV, where you made one character, and that one character could be every class in the game. And then each class had a subclass that you could go down, or had 2 subclasses, and that would do slightly different things depending on which one of the 2 subclasses you went down. I don't remember what the base class was for my DPS class. It was like scout or something. I don't remember, but spec'd out. I went down the Nighthawk line in Firefall, which gives you a chonky sniper rifle that decimates targets, and also your sidearms across the board are all infinite ammo. And I had the best purple P90 that I could find at the time. So if my sniper ran out of ammo, which I had an epic tier drop from a raid, and that sniper hit like a dump truck. So on the rare chance that I ran out of sniper bullets, okay, time to get out the buzzsaw. is what I nicknamed it, but I nicknamed that P90. And I had only had that one DPS class. I started leveling one of the DPS classes that split down into Tiger, I think? I think that's what the class was. Just pure, unmitigated hatred and pain unleashed on the battlefield is what that class was. And I also started a tank. And I don't remember the base name for that, but I think I was gonna go... Or was it Rhino? And it had a split class, or was one of the split classes Rhino? I don't remember. But the tanks were super cool, because you start the game with a infinite ammo shotgun as your sidearm, and you have a your main weapon's a fucking minigun. So that was cool. Final Fantasy 14. One character can be every class, so I don't have to make another character and replay through the entire story to try another class. I just go to the class's guild hall and go, hey, I want to be this. Well, here's your introduction quest. Okay, cool. Here's your soul stone and some form of starting gear, which is usually just a weapon, depending on the class. If it starts at 1, it's just a weapon. So have fun with that. But I like not having to make a bunch of new characters just to play a class, only to find out I don't like it. Sick. Pardon me. Story. Moving on to the story list. This is about it. This is the last... Oh, I'm having trouble breathing. This is the last topic. Story and my investment in the story. I'm gonna go ahead and get the unthrilling ones out of the way. Guild Wars. Don't remember. Didn't play it enough. Rift. You guessed it. Don't remember. So I dropped that game like a bad habit. Firefall. Loved it to death. It was fun. It was quirky. It took itself just seriously enough that it wasn't, you know, military simulator, but that it also wasn't Borderlands. It had a nice mix of comedy as well as action, and I loved that. And I, again, really wish the game didn't die, but Red 5 screwed up so bad that they couldn't get paid. Their boss was just like, yeah, we ran out of money and we can't pay you. Well, we're closing down the studio. Bye. Makes me sad. Makes me so sad. I'm still mad about that. I am going to be mad about that probably for the rest of time. Makes me so mad. Just the worst. Star Trek. I have got... Holy crap, what, 7 characters or 6 characters that are all at max level and all have some form of content-ready build across the board. I have played through that story a lot. I've even leveled characters, not put any, like, super... not put, like, a ton of time into building them. Leveled a character to max, and then deleted it, and then done it again. Just because it's fun. I like the story. Plus, you can also go back and replay all the story missions at your current level cap for higher level rewards. To, yeah, like, if you want to make gimmick builds, you can get certain pieces. It's fun. It's really cool. I love it. It's great. You can do... You can make just about anything a functional build in that game and be able to do low end without an issue, and even mid-tier, and sometimes I even did a elite level, which is the highest tier that I can find anyway. Did an elite level TFO in a tier 4 ship. Cool. It's fine. You can do it. Of course, I was carried by... I was, in a sense, carried by the higher level people, but it's doable. Just don't get aggro, because one... You'll die. You'll die quick. It's not good. But it's like I said, it's doable, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. That's my go-to, just burn a couple of hours playing it title. ESO is very similar. I love this. Oh, okay, hold on. I have to go back to Star Trek. I just didn't really explain it very well. The story is kind of set up. It's set up in seasons. It's seasons, and each mission is an episode. It's literally a playable TV show. and it's great. You have choices that affect the entire story as a whole that you can do throughout the game. It's what? It's really cool. I love it to death. The current episodes that they're releasing are really fun, and I've enjoyed playing them so far. And I look forward to what they keep releasing. I'm a shill for that game, just as like I'm a shill for 14. And kind of a shill for ESO, because ESO's fun. It's a fairly bog standard Elder Scrolls based story, but it's all of the Elder Scrolls games in one game. You can literally walk from Daggerfall to Skyrim if you wanted to. Oh, maybe not walk, but you can go to all the places from all the games. It's amazing. I love it. It's great. Story, there's more than one story, because like each region has its own core story, and then each city has a storyline, and there's different side missions you can do. Steve Bloom's in the game, so that's cool. Yeah. I also don't think I talked about Lotro yet. Lotro's story, its core story, the epics are great. I love them. The epics and the epics only. Everything else, I just didn't like zone questlines much. It was primarily the epics that I was the most invested in. All the other side stuff you gotta do is just like, this is just busy work and it sucks, but you need it because you need the XP. And the story only had a... story was fine a couple of times through, but by about my third character that I was trying to level so I could play another class, I just couldn't be bothered. That's why I've got like 10 characters that are all at varying levels, because I would just get bored. Oof. And I think the last thing to talk about is 14, which is literally, it's got the best story that I've ever played across the MMOs that I've played. Best story bar none. Even A Realm Reborn has more replayability than some of the other MMOs that I've played. Man, my hype for Endwalker right now is so high that I'm actually scared I might get let down, because it's... they've got to top Shadowbringers, and I really hope that Endwalker does. Shadowbringers alone, just that expansion, has better storytelling than most games that I've played. Not just MMOs, most games. Holy God. So basically, at the end of the day, with this video, where I have rambled, take away about a couple of minutes where my mom came in, 45-ish minutes about MMOs, my time with them. Aside from the games that I dropped because they just sucked, all the other ones that I'm still either actively playing or have played in the past, I love. And like I said, and I'm gonna kind of sort of paraphrase, for example, Zeppla, when she was being interviewed by Rich and Asman on their podcast. And I think it was Zeppla that said this. She referred to World of Warcraft as like the friend that you had a falling out with, but that you don't wish ill on them, and that you check in every now and then to see how they're doing. That is how I see Lotro. I see it as like this friendship that I had for over a decade, and I had a falling out with, but I don't wish them unsuccess. I don't wish them to die. I mean, every game will die eventually, but I don't wish it on them. And I do check in every now and then. I don't have it installed right now. I'm trying to thin out my library a little bit and only have installed what I'm actively playing. So I got 2.5 terabytes of hard drive space spread up between 2 drives, and I've already almost filled up both of them. That's just because games are so big now. But at the end of the day, it sounds like I'm like dunking, just taking huge big old poopers on Lotro. And in a way I am, but I have enough experience in the game to comfortably talk about it because I got over 10 years in the game. Do I hate the game? No. Like I said earlier, I don't wish it to die. I don't wish a crash and burn end on it. I've played games that I absolutely hate and still haven't wished bad on them, as far as I remember. And then the games that I've played that have died, I miss them greatly. Like, if Firefall was still around, I probably would have quit Lotro sooner. And I'd probably not... Oh, I wouldn't even be playing 14 now, probably because I wouldn't have met the people that convinced me to play 14. So it's actually probably a good thing that Firefall did die. It's unfortunate and very sad, because that game was really fun. Yeah, at the end of the day, the game I put the most time in, I don't play anymore because I don't get the same enjoyment out of it that I used to. It got to the point where logging into the game just felt like a commitment versus, hey, I'm gonna go play a game. That the fire just, it died. It's not even embers anymore, it's just gone. But I still check in on them. Well, I say them, it's a game. I still check in on it every now and then. I check out people's reviews. I still get recommendations where people are like, hey, is it worth playing Lotro in 2021? There's some good videos out there that give the positives and negatives of the game. I would suggest checking them out if you're on the fence about playing. Would I recommend Lotro to somebody? Sure. Of course, man. That game was... Again, a game was like having a decade-long best friend that you had a falling out with. You don't really talk much anymore, but you still check in to see how the other's doing. So, and I won't even shy people away from it. But I will tell them, hey, if Lotro's not your thing, check out Final Fantasy XIV. Check out ESO. If you're into sci-fi, check out Star Trek. What little I played of Guild Wars, I've actually recommended Guild Wars to a couple of people before. Well, Guild Wars 2 specifically. I don't think I ever played the first one. I personally won't recommend Rift, just because I got so bored of it so quickly that now I'm good. But my point is, they're all MMOs. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. I never got to learn a couple of the games just because I don't play them. But let's just, I don't know. It's kind of like another way I can describe Lotro, because I've described it two ways. Another way I would describe Lotro is actually my ability to make videos right now. It's a talent that I still have, and it's a talent that I still sometimes use. But there's days where opening up my editing software or recording software to record a video, you open it and then you're just like, is this really what I want to do today? Nah, I'll just go do something else. I almost quit editing recently just because I just didn't want to do it anymore. I don't feel fulfilled from it. But I wanted to make this video, one, because I told myself that I would. I set this goal. Ideally, I should have had this done months ago. But I didn't have everything I needed to do it months ago. So, in a way, it's still my fault. So it's still my fault. But I'm not going to quit editing. I'm going to edit this video, or I've edited this video that you're watching. I haven't edited it at the time of recording, but you're watching it, so I made the video. And I'm not just gonna stop now. All that matters is that these are all opinions. None of this is fact except for the fact that Firefall is dead because their dev team got shafted by their first CEO, and then I think the second one as well. Oof. Everything else is just my personal experiences with the games. I still have, like I said, fond memories of Lotro. I would still recommend it to somebody, especially if they're a fan of Lord of the Rings in general. In fact, I told a couple of people the other day that were talking about Lord of the Rings in public. I asked them if they knew that there was an MMO for it, and they didn't. And I'm not an outgoing guy, but if I hear a subject that I like to talk about, I will usually see if it's okay to join the conversation. Told them to go play it. I told them to check the game out, and they said they would. Don't know if they did, but I still actively recommend the game to people. But also recommend 14 a lot too. I've even recommended Star Trek to people if they like sci-fi. It's fun. It's great. They're all fun games. And I'm sure there's people that love Rift, and I'm sure that there's people, and in fact, my best friend on the planet that bought me the computer that I have plays Guild Wars 2 religiously. At the end of the day, like I said, this is just one man's opinions. Yours will be different than mine, and you know what? That's fine. Just be cool, be kind. Y'all have a good day. Peace.